Hello, and welcome to Billy Bob's Punk and Ska Album of the Month. For the month of November 2023, I chose to feature the Blue Meanies album, Kiss Your Ass Goodbye. One of my fucking staple teenage fucking ska albums ever. Ska-ish. Whatever they classify themselves as. It has ska tendencies. We'll go with that. But I was lucky enough to get a hold of Chaz, and we talked for a freaking ever about everything. It was amazing. We covered the whole history of the Blue Meanies, and he told some amazing stories, which we're about to bust into here in just a second. Make sure to like and subscribe and click the bell and comments and all that other jazz. But let's jump into this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man can whoop a wild horse's ass. This man can whoop a big camel's ass with a belt. Here they are. They're Chicago's own Blue motherfucking Meanies.
So, how did you first get into music, man?
Me? I don't know. I got into music through Kiss. Kiss. That was it. Kiss and AC/DC. I'm 52 years old. So, I had my parents are boomers, whatever. They're still alive. They're in their, 70s. Fortunately I had like younger parents, but yeah, I just basically took all my parents' records and was like, yep, Beatles, love them. Stones, love them. Motown, love it. But they had like a lot of like crazy 45s, like 7 inches. And those were the ones that really got to me because they're like, oh, the Count Five, Psychotic Reaction. That was like when I was like 10 or so. And I'm like, that's like a seminal, like whatever, like Nuggets band. And I didn't know it when I was like, 10 or whatever, but I just had these stacks of records. And I always had a record player when I was a kid. So like, yeah, but it was like Beatles and Motown and whatever. But these little like things that I'd find on these little records, 7 inches, I was like, oh, those are cool. And they were like these, um, they were like not the Beatles and not the Stones and not the, but they were like these obscure little bands and like and like I still have them to this day. Like just, it's like an oldie. I have an oldie station, radio station in like crates of records that I still have. And I,
One hit wonders.
yeah, one hit wonders and like, oh my God. I'm like, but the Psychotic Reaction by the Count Five, that was the one that kind of blew my mind when I was a young kid. Like, holy shit, this is like really different. But like, and then Kiss, because I'm of that era. But like Psychotic Reaction by the Count Five and Kiss was nice. And then when I was like, I don't know, like 12, The Clash. And then it was all over. So it was like, but like, hold on, wait, like this. I don't know if you can see it. I don't
A
know.
little higher, a little higher. Yeah, there we go.
This, I keep this like on my nightstand next to me because it's like, oh my God, this is like that fucking changed shit for me.
So, do you still have a cassette deck in that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Okay,
have a cassette desk, but the Clash was the one that like changed shit for me. Like I still don't like the Sex Pistols. I'm like, Ramones, okay. The Clash was the one that fucking did it for me, and I was like, I don't know, the Clash and Black Flag
Yeah,
and the Circle Jerks. You know,
yeah.
those were my like my trinity of like that's what got me into punk rock.
Well, what got you into playing music?
I don't know. Well, school, just like and school and the organ store at the mall. Like you go to the mall, and they had like a a piano organ store, and there'd be some guy like playing there, like, oh yeah, listen to this, and like I'll be like, oh, let's go look at that. And I convinced my parents to like buy me an organ, um, not so much a piano, but like I'm like, oh, this organ thing is kind of cool. And then like they were like, okay, well, yeah, we'll get you that. And they, but I played like trumpet in the school band, and I did not like that. But but I got a keyboard, and that's what got me into like being in a band when I was in high school. I played like in, whatever, in the school band, but like I got into a rock band when I was like, I don't know, like 14, the freshman year of high school, and we were playing like Poison and Rat covers, and like that's what my friends were into. And I was like, oh, I want to be in a band. But then I'm like, can we play this Black Flag song? And they were like, no, that's horrible. And I'm like, oh well, okay, but I'll play the thing. And I was like the singer, and then they were gonna kick me out of the band because I couldn't really sing that well. But then I was like, well, I have a keyboard and I can play the keyboard. And they're like, oh, well, then you're back in the band. And like, yeah. And then like, I don't know, it was a weird thing, but like I was like super punk rock when I was in like junior high, and like this would have been like 1984, 85, and like yeah, it was like Black Flag, Circle Jerks were my jam, Suicidals, and like yeah, but then like when I was, I'm like I want to be in a band, I want to be like doing shit, and I had to like sort of like my friends were all into like this metals things, and they were into Motley Crue and stuff, and I'm like well, if I have to be in a band, I guess I could like that. And it was like, but yeah, I did. I liked it, and it was, and it was cool for a little while. But like, I don't know, it was a weird scene for me because I was like, I was trying to get them into like the things that I liked, and they were like, no, no, you just sing. You can kind of sing, and I'm like, yeah. But then I was like, I can't sing, but you've got a keyboard, and then we can play like the Cars and like shit like that,
and
and we can like play at the school dances because we can like how to play the keyboards, and we could do things like that. But and we were awesome. My band was called Livewire, and like we were like fucking good. We played all the high school dances like around town in the south suburbs of Chicago, and like yeah, we were good, and like we
but
recorded
obviously,
records, but no, but like yeah,
but
it's like
obviously not named after that Naked Ray Gun song.
we were named after the Motley Crue song,
Yeah,
Live Wire. But
but
yeah,
I mean,
so
playing music's fun no matter what genre you play.
exactly. And that was the thing. It was like, yeah, we were teenagers, and we were like, yeah, let's fucking go and do, whatever we can. And it was fucking fantastic, playing school dances. It like we'd go like a couple towns over and play their like dance, and they'd be like, but
Gotta get yourself together. Gotta get yourself. Gotta get yourself together. Gotta get yourself. Get it together. Get it together now. Get it on. Get it on.
So, how did you find yourself in the Blue Meanies?
well, my friend, I had a friend, his name is Nick McCree, and he was in a band called Hot Glue Gun. He was in a band called Steak Daddy Six as well. They were like from Champaign, Illinois. You're like Rolla, Missouri, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but Champaign, Illinois was the U of I, University of Illinois, and they had a crazy good scene there. Like Hum came from that scene,
I love
and like, yeah, I love Hum too. They were the ones that really broke out of that scene. But there was a Menthol, was another one. But like, yeah, he was like, it's just like a dude that I played in the band Livewire with, and we went to college in two different separate colleges. And then he's like, oh, I was like I've been playing with this band, and we play with this band called the Blue Meanies, who are from Carbondale, Illinois, like Southern Illinois University. And like, yeah, they're all graduating and they're moving back to Chicago, where I was, and they're looking for a keyboard player. And like, yeah, you should call this guy Jay Vance. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So back in the day, I was like, okay, cool. So I called Jay Vance, captured by robots and, doing his Jay thing. And it's like we were sitting in our dorm rooms and I was like, hey, well, you guys are moving to Chicago, and Nick called me, and yeah, let's go. And he's like, oh, okay, well, send me a tape. So got really stoned and played some keyboards and put it on a cassette, and I sent it to Jay, and he was like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's do it. So then we all ended school in June or whatever of 1992, I think 91. No, actually 91. And they like all left school in Carbondale, moved to Chicago, and a dude had this guy Aaron had booked a tour.
Oh, I lost you, buddy.
Meanies, and we're like, oh, okay. Um, oh, hello, you
Oh,
there?
it's catching up. It's catching up. There it is.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So anyway, no, it was like we, they were graduating college in Carbondale, and just moving. Everybody was moving back to Chicago because that's where things were, and I was already there. And that's when they got myself and Jimmy Flame, our trumpet player, because we were there. And like, yeah, so we just like I met these dudes. Like, we were literally like writing letters and like whatever. There was no internet or anything. Like, we were doing everything like hand by hand, letters, and like sending letters to each other with stamps and shit. And yeah, it was cool. And then they were like, all right, well, let's go. So we I joined them. We met at a bar called it was called the Wrigley Side, next to the Metro in Chicago, and we were all underage except for a couple of us. And like we went there for beers, and like I remember taking the L train to meet them, and like, oh, I don't know if I can even get in this bar with my fake ID, but I did. And like, yeah, and then that was history. Like, we met and like, boom. And then a month later we went on tour. And I told my parents, I'm like, they're like, what are you doing for the summer? Are you getting a job? I'm like, no, I'm going on tour, I think, with this band. And then we just like, we were all like 19, 20, like 22. It was the oldest person. And like, yeah. And we just left and we went from Chicago to New Orleans and back. That was our thing. And it was the craziest shit ever, like 17, well, like 18 years old, 19. Um, yeah, it was bizarre and totally fun. And we were just like, oh my God. We were just like, yes, it was awesome.
That
And
is awesome.
yeah, we were pretty good. We were a pretty fucking good band, which, was the end of it. I mean, like, yeah, like crazy good band, but like we were just kids, like, and we didn't know shit. And we just got in a van and just drove to, we drove all the way to New Orleans, then over to Austin, Texas, and then back. And like, well, that was crazy and it was fun. And like, oh my God, let's do it again.
Say, can you feel it? Say, can you feel it? People breathe.
So, what was the first recording that you were involved in?
We did the first recording, the Blue Meanies. The first thing before me, they it was called Nude Ain't Crude. It
The
was a
cassette.
cassette recording made by the guys like Jay, Billy, and like nobody else that is, like all the old college guys. Um, and it was good. It was like, yeah, it was really cool. It was a cassette only thing.
Impossible to find.
Yeah. I don't even have one. I have the cassette case, but I don't have the actual cassette. Somebody does, but it's easy to get. But it was like primitive, like, but whatever. But so we did our thing for a little bit, and then we recorded the it was yeah, I guess it was the Peace Love Groove. And Peace Love Groove was a live recording at this place called the Hangar 9 in Carbondale. It was a live recording, and it was like horrible. It's like they were our songs, but the recording just terrible, like awful. But the songs were good and the vibe was good, whatever. And
It
then
was
we went
fun.
to what's that?
It was a fun recording.
It was a fun recording, and the album cover was the best part, because it was like a riff on the Beatles, obviously the Yesterday and Today cover, and we actually had meat, and whatever. Like we went to a photo shoot, and like we have steaks. Like what are we doing with these? Like, oh no, we're going to replicate the Yesterday and Today cover. So like I was on the cover in a doctor suit, and like there's meat, raw meat, and then like on the back cover is like dudes, the other people in the band, naked, you know, and covered in meat, but it was a nice riff on the Beatles thing. But no, it was not a very good recording, but it was like, eh. But then we went to Pave the World, and that's where we kind of got our shit together and started writing songs, and like, okay, yeah, we're doing this for real. And that's but we recorded the everything was done in Carbondale back in the day, because that's where, everybody started, and we hadn't really sort of migrated to Chicago where we lived, for the next 10 years prior. But yeah, it was a total crazy shit. But like we did the that live record, and we toured on it, and we put out a 7-inch and all that, and it was fun, but like we didn't really start. I don't think we really started doing serious recordings until about 1993 when we did Pave the World.
Poke in the eye, poke in the eye, reach up on to the ground. Run a line, out of line inside. Run a line. Hey, 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 hey.
When you say put out a 7-inch, are you referring to You're in Trouble?
No, You're in Trouble came long after that. You're in Trouble was released on No Lie Records, which was that was like a couple of years later. I'm thinking like 95, 96.
Oh, I
And it
didn't
was
have
like,
a read on that one. That's why.
yeah. You're in Trouble was Lindsey Kuhn, who's a cool poster artist from Austin, Texas. Um, and he had a label called No Lie Music. And he was documenting like the Austin scene. And it was cool because we kind of got, Austin was cool. Like they had like like a, the, not like, I don't know. It was like there was bands like, I'm trying to think. There were like, what was that band called? The Fuckamos. Do you know them?
No, but that's a wonderful name.
Oh, you should check out the Fuckamos because they're awesome. They're like a very Butthole Surfers, like, um, you know, Butthole Surfers kind of band. Because like, but like they had this band called the Lord High Fixers, who are like really cool, like garage shit. Um, but yeah, and then what else was on there? There's like a lot of cool like Austin, Texas bands that were like really cool, but like the Fuckamos were the ones that were like, oh my god, they were crazy. They were the dudes that were like, okay, well, we're gonna play with them, and like, yeah, they're naked on stage and like wearing cowboy hats, buck naked, and at emos in Austin, like this really cool place, like that was but yeah, but yeah, there, but yeah, but Lindsey Coon, he was like a poster artist and like had this like really cool like no lie music. There's another band called Jesus Christ Superfly who are like a really cool like pop punk band, but they were like these like big like angry dudes, and they played like this really cool pop punk, and like but you if you looked at them they would be like they're gonna kill you, and like oh like cool shit like that. I mean, but I don't know, but yeah, yeah, it was I'm trying to think of who else was on that. Did I say the Lord High Fixers? Like I don't know, but yeah, but like crazy cool like garage like like I don't know, but cool shit in Austin. But yeah, that's where You're in Trouble came from. But from the Austin scene, and like I don't even know what the Austin scene is like anymore. But in the mid '90s, it was really fucking cool because it was a hybrid of like oh my god, like Butthole Surfers type bands and like garage bands and like just straight up like but I remember also being in Austin in the mid '90s, seeing like the Battalion of Saints and like fucking hardcore ass bands,
A lot
you
of
know,
hardcore bands from Austin.
yeah, and like cool shit like that. So it was like it was a cool scene, but like I don't know, it was just we just happened to be traveling through there, and just like yeah, people would be like, oh, we'll put out a 7-inch for you or whatever. But we like yeah, and then go play a show with them. But like oh my god, but Austin in the mid '90s was fucking insane because it was like, oh my god, you could get anything, and like, oh, but like, yeah, but it was all like Austin was always about fucking Butthole Surfers type bands, and like, oh my god, it was so cool.
Word. Well, I pulled you away from what you were talking about. You were going on
Yeah,
about Pave the World, which is a phenomenal
yeah,
EP. Like that's the first thing I acquired was Pave the World, and it fucking
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Pave the World was crazy. Like, I mean, so I remember writing that song I was like, I don't know, I was living at my parents' house when I was like 19 and like sitting at my piano and like, hmm, I have a kid brother who's like 20 years younger than me. So it was like, I just was there and my kid brother, Kevin, was like, I don't know, like like a little kid. He was like 3 or 4 years old and he was watching Dumbo, the movie Dumbo.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, it's weird. And, I heard some music from that movie, like the circus music from Dumbo,
Yeah.
and I was practicing piano, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And like, I kind of came up with this like do da do da do da do da, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And but that's where it came from. Like, Pave the World came from Dumbo, believe it or not. Like, because my little brother Kevin, was, and I was like sitting there and like, yeah, and then it like sort of developed in a weird way. Like I was like, oh, I brought this riff to the band, and they were like, oh, and then like when we were writing, like at that point we were very collaborative. So I was like, oh yeah, I got this, and then Jay, our bass player, was like, oh, that's cool. And he was like, oh, let's do this. And he did like a bass riff for the bridge. And then like I had the like, oh, well, I have this for the chorus, the bum, 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 bum. And we were just like, oh shit, that's very cool. So it was awesome. Like back in those days, we were very collaborative and like, like which is cool because when we were doing the shows in July, it was like that group of people, and like we were so like nobody was like it was like we'd everybody would bring in riffs and we just like jack them together, but like and it was very fun. It was very collaborative and it was like a cool thing. But then like as we went sort of later on, like it was yeah, we started to bring in like fully like
Develop.
evolved songs and like okay, well this is what we're going to do. So it was different. It was a different vibe. It was still collaborative, but at that point when we were still young kids and like, oh, I got this riff. Oh yeah, let's jam it with this riff. It was like so much, it was so much more pure and like it was very fun. And like I don't know, but like the whole thing was fun. But like back in those days, it was like, oh, well, let's jam this riff that's a square into a circle. Oh, that doesn't necessarily work, but let's jam it together, and then it does. And it was a lot of fun. So that's how a lot of those like the Kiss Your Ass Goodbye songs came together because we were like, well, I got this, I got this. Doesn't work, but let's neck it up and whatever. It was really cool.
Well, that whole album came together perfectly, though. Kiss Your Ass Goodbye. Because that was the second one I acquired. It took me a while to come across Full Throttle, but like
Yeah.
Pave the World and Kiss Your Ass Goodbye was my teen years right there.
Really? That's so fantastic. That's great. You had some great teen years, I guess. I mean,
Discovering that and Mr. Bungle's self-titled really fucking pushed me in.
Oh shit, Mr. Bungle like blew my mind. Like, God, when I was like the first Mr. Bungle, it blew the whole band, like the whole Blue Meanies. Like we didn't like experience it together, but we experienced it individually, and then we were able to like sort of like, and we all experienced it in different sort of situations. But oh, Mr. Bungle was like, oh my god, like it was the shit, like I remember like just sitting in my like bedroom, like headphones on when I was like a freshman in college. Like, oh, what's this? I'm like, oh shit. Because like, yeah, Faith No More was around. I'm like, okay. Like, oh, that's the guy from Faith No More. And I'm like, oh, that's the guy from Faith No More. And we're like, oh, okay. And like, yeah, and we've always been the Blue Meanies have always been like, oh yes, you're the carnival punk or whatever. But yeah, and yes, we were influenced by that. Like, oh my god, directly.
I mean, how could you not?
Oh yeah, and it was like spectacular. And it was like at a time when I was like, yeah, I remember I was in college. I was experiencing like in 1989 when I was in college, I was experiencing Op Ivy on one end and Mr. Bungle on the other. And it was like, holy shit. Like how can these things are influencing me in like two different ways, and I'm like, oh my god, but they're so awesome. And to this day, they're two of my favorite, bands ever. There's no way you can't like deny that, But there's like, yeah, some people like went the more punk rock, Up Ivy side, and there's some way that like went the more Mr. Bungle side. Yeah, Tubbering was on that side, but like, oh my god, yes, of course. But like Tubbering are great, Oh my god, I just but yeah, it's just
But they
like it was
started
such a
off punk. I mean, they were a punk band in the
yeah,
90s and in
yeah,
Chicago until Rob joined the band, and then they totally went.
yeah, yeah. But they're I mean, but they're like John. They do their own thing, you know. And like, do you know? Have you ever heard Hot Stove Jimmy?
Yeah. I got a couple of their albums. It didn't get heavy rotation, but they are a truly unique band. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I was in Hot Stove Jimmy for a little bit as well.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and yeah, like I
How did
did
I not
some.
know this? How did I not know this?
Um, no, it's just like that was like they did some reunion shows and like whatever, and like I played with them, and they're super fun and like yeah, it's great band, in that like sort of like we're all in that sort of same like crazy ass shit. But I think the thing that differentiates the Chicago like sort of weird ska punk people is that we have like the I don't know, we have like I don't know, like the Jesus Lizard vibe that everybody else doesn't have. And we're like influenced by that. And like it's a different sort of set of influences, like, Mustard Plug. They're great. They're like a pop ska thing. And I love those guys. But, like, I don't know. And Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles are the penultimate, my favorite ska band ever.
Fucking best horn section. Fuck.
Oh, Jesus
So,
Christ, yes.
so damn jazzy.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, like Osho used to play with us, and like, oh my god, they're still the best. But like ME 330, they're the best pop ska ever, and like like great shit. But like I think the weirdest, coolest shit has been the Chicago bands. Like you know, obviously like us and I don't think Tubbering necessarily would identify with the ska thing, but Hot Stove Jimmy definitely. But those dudes are great. The Cougars, do you know them?
No,
The
unfamiliar.
Cougars are like the sort of Hot Stove Jimmy like noise rock version that they like when Hot Stove Jimmy ended, the Cougars started. And they're like, "Oh my god, they're so good." And they just put out a record and like, oh, it's just like noisy, like aggro, like good shit. So it's kind of different. Like, I don't know. But like, obviously like, oh, sure, like go to New York, you're gonna hear like I know like like the who are they called? The oh shit. Like this the not this
Slackers.
fuck. The Slackers are playing and like um who are some of the other ska bands that are, you know,
Big out of New York.
yeah. The I'm looking behind you as well.
No, now see, all the ska bands that are popping in my head right now are mostly from like California.
Oh, really? Okay.
But
So
I don't know.
I see a helmet over
oh
there.
yeah, there's a Helmet Melvins poster
Oh my
right
God.
here.
Yeah.
I got all sorts of shit. This is all over the place. I got some Polka Dot Cadaver down here.
Oh, nice.
Got some Tubbering, Voodoo Glow Skulls,
Oh my God.
Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, which is completely out of the genre entirely, but the most phenomenal band I've ever heard.
Oh, have you ever heard Space Streakings?
No.
Oh,
Uh,
write that down.
I am. Space Streakings.
Yes. Do you like Wesley Willis?
I got me a fair share, Wesley Willis. He did the
Yeah.
introduction on your live album.
He did. Absolutely, he did. He's a he was a good friend.
Space. Repeat that one more time. Space
Space Streakings.
streakings. Okay, got that written.
But Japanese, like crazy shit. Like I think you would like it. But
Oh,
oh no, it's
there-
yeah.
there's a Japanese band you should check out called Alif Dopa. I would have to write it
Oh.
down for you because I don't even know how to spell it. But they they are very like if you could take bungle and mix it with J-pop,
Oh,
that's what it
crazy.
would be because it just jumps from one extreme to the other all the time. It's like really poppy, but yet at the same time, it's a borderline, Dillinger Escape Plan at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice, nice.
yeah, I'll send you a couple links to that because that's
Oh, totally. But oh, it's so cool.
okay. So
This one the king's queen. One in this. One the king. Suck up the shot.
digress. Let's talk a little bit more about
Yes.
Kiss Your Ass Goodbye because
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite albums as well. I love your whole discography, but
Oh,
but
thank you.
the like I said, that was part of my teen years, right? So the more information I
Mhm.
can weasel out of you about that, the better.
Oh, absolutely. So, okay, so it was weird. And you're from Missouri, and that Kiss Your Ass Goodbye is very Missouri centric because we recorded that in St. Louis. Do you know a band called the Secret Cajun Band? Have you
No,
ever heard of them? Well,
no,
you're from Rolla, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. So Secret Cajun Band are from St. Louis proper, like MU330. Those were our boys. But oh my God, the so we were very naive, like people, you know. So we had this group of songs, and like we were like, hmm. We had toured for basically 1992, 93. We were writing songs, we were touring them and trying to get somebody to put out a record for us. And like nobody would do it. Like no, none of the cool labels would do it. And somehow we met up with this guy. His name was Keith Pinkston, and he was from St. Louis, Missouri. And his actually no, he was from I'm sorry, Columbia, Missouri, and he had a kid that went to school Columbia, Missouri. That's where like University of
Yep,
Missouri is, the
yep.
big
That's where
one.
Mizzou is. Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know how we got in touch with him, but he was like, "Yeah, man, I want to I like your band because my kid saw him." And he hooked up with like our manager at the time and was like, "Yeah, I'd like to put out a record for your band because whatever." And we were like, "Oh, okay." Well, and we were just like dumb, naive, whatever kids. And we're like, "Okay." And we had the songs and we were like ready. And like nobody was like taking us seriously. Like none of like the cool Chicago labels or the punk rock, like nobody at Hopeless Records or like the cool labels were not like taking us seriously. So we're like, all right, well, we got to get this shit out and we don't have any money. So, all right. So this guy's like, yeah, yeah, well, I like you guys. My kid saw you at Columbia and he saw this other kid's band called Dave Matthews or something. And we're like, Dave Matthews, who the fuck is that? And like, whatever. But he's like, yeah, I got some money. I'll put out a record for you. And like, so we were like, okay. So we somehow you know, arranged it where we would go to St. Louis and record a record. And like, he was like, we met with him and he's like, yeah, yeah, I love you guys. My son saw you at Columbia and he also saw this band called Dave Matthews. I'm trying to sign them. And we're like, okay, but all right, whatever, cool. Well, we're like, okay, fine. So he's like, I'll give you some money. and I'll be the producer, and like you you know, well, I don't know about your music, but you so anyway, I ended up being the producer of this record, and this dude was like, yeah, I'll be whatever Chaz likes, I like. And I'm like, okay, that's not a really good producer situation. So I just sat there and I was like, okay. So we went to this, he booked this studio in St. Louis, and he told us we were going to be staying in this luxury hotel near St. Louis University. And that's where he'd be, we would go there for 2 weeks or whatever to record this record. But we ended up, that didn't happen. He's like, oh no, you're going to be staying with these guys from this band called the Secret Cajun Band. And we're like, okay, well, they're friends of ours. That's nice. They were like a tertiary ska band. Like there was like St. Louis was like MB330. They were like down low, but they had a house where we could stay. So we're like, okay, cool. All right, we'll stay there. And like this dude was just like a shyster, basically. And like um so he paid for us to record this record, and like I became the default producer of said record, and he was the also credited as um the Razor Boy, which is a reference to a Steely Dan song, and he was like the co-producer, but he all he said was like, I don't care, whatever Chaz likes, that's what I like. And I'm like, "Mm, okay." And it was a really weird situation. Like, so we recorded this record, and like, then we're like, okay, well, we recorded it. It's good. You said we were going to stay in this fancy hotel. You didn't. We stayed with the Secret Cajun Band for 2 weeks. And then you put us up in this hotel for like 2 days and like, whatever. Okay, let's go. And then it came time to like, okay, well, we recorded it, we mixed it, we got it going. Um, let's we gotta we'd like to put this record out. And he was like, he disappeared, and like he was gone. And like we're like, well, we couldn't find this guy. He was like sketchy as fuck, and like nobody could find him. And he had the master tapes. And we're like, we just recorded this really fucking cool album, and we can't find this fucking dude. And then it went on for like a year. We could not find this dude. And then we found him. And the so Kiss Your Ass Goodbye was eventually released on this record label called Fuse Records. They were a Chicago label, and they were, much more like not established, but much more like, yeah, they had their shit together. So we were like, this guy Brett from Fuse Records was like, oh my god, I'll sort this for you. Just tell me where you could find this guy. And we're like, it's your job to find this guy because we can't find him. And eventually he found him. And there was literally this guy Brett from Fuse Records, who eventually released Kiss Your Ass Goodbye. They tracked him down, and there was a literal exchange of like a suitcase full of cash in an airport to get the rights for this record. And it was like $2,000.
But
It was not like
it was a suitcase full of $2,000.
yeah. They're like, this dude flew up to like Midway Airport in Chicago and met Brett. He's like, I've got the tapes, and Brett had like a suitcase full of $2,000 in cash, and was like, there we go. That's it. And then Brett from Fuse Records released it, and then that's when we started to like, okay, yeah. So the posters you see now, and like the CDs, eventually Asian Man like released it as a re-release like 10 years later, but the original release was like some sketchy fucking dude from St. Louis. And we were just like, oh my God, this guy is fucking like, what the fuck? But we were so naive and so dumb that we were just like, oh yeah, somebody's gonna give us money to put out a record. Yes. And it goes so.
What you say, what you will. What you really, what you say. Who I am, I'm the same. Who I am, hold on.
And then it also happened to us when we tried to re-release Pave the World.
I was going to ask about that Jukebox Radio Raid, which is where I discovered Nuclear Rabbit, so I am grateful for that. But tell me about that.
And that's fucking fantastic. I'm glad you discovered Nuclear Rabbit. I'm glad you discovered fucking Suicide Machines. That was we met up with this dude, Paul Ratt, from San Francisco. We're like, oh yeah, we just need somebody to distribute this record. And he was like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do that for you. And we're like, cool. And like, here's the tape. Go. And we were because we had released that originally, self-released, and like did it, whatever. It was like whatever. We did our thing, and we were able to press a certain amount of CDs and blah blah blah. Not very so, but we were just like, oh yeah, we need to like get this out because we're touring and we need to get it in more stores. So Paul Ratt was like, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. And we're like, sweet. So sent him the shit to make the CDs. And we were like, I remember we were in Dayton, Ohio. We were playing a show with fucking Guided by Voices and like all these people at this like little festival in Dayton, Ohio. And that was the day the CDs were supposed to show up, and we were, they were coming to the club we were playing at, and we got them, and we're like, what the fuck? It's like, this is not what we signed up for. So you have that. You have the thing. It's like got a Sherwin-Williams little paint thing.
The world with the two people on the front, and
and it's got all these other bands on it, and we were like, what the fuck is this? But we were so dumb and so like naive and like punk rock, like, okay, yeah, this guy's gonna do it. And then, but that was the one that was like, oh fuck this, we are gonna fucking kill this guy. And like, yeah, but it was like, but they were all our friends on the CDs too. It's like, oh my god, the Suicide Machines, they're our friends, and Nuclear Rabbit, and like, yeah, we know these people, but this fucking dude didn't tell us we were all going to be on the same CD together, and it was like, oh my god.
So did he scam them too, or was
yes, he scammed all of us. He scammed all of us, but it was like kind of good and kind of bad. Because like, yeah, he scammed all of us. Our thing was like, yeah, we're just like, we want our thing to be distributed with your whatever, but no, he scammed us. He scammed everybody. And it took us like years. And I still have a fucking box of these things that I'm like, I don't know, I'm never going to get rid of them. But like, I have them. If you want one, I'll send you one.
I would love another copy because mine, like, it got destroyed years ago. But I backed it up on my computer, luckily, right before that.
Yeah, But it was just like, oh my god. But we were so dumb and so naive that like, oh my god, like, yeah, this guy's gonna like take care of us. He's from San Francisco. Oh my god, yes. He's like, but yeah. But then we got smart. We got angry, and we're like, oh no. Then we were like, fuck these people, like, fuck this shit, But then we were stupid enough to like sign to a major label and like whatever. So we never really got that smart, but like it was just like we just wanted to get our music out to as many people as possible, and it was like, I don't know. That was the thing.
Yeah, and I did get a copy of that. So he was successful at getting it out there, as well as several other bands. It's just
yeah, Yeah,
Compacted into one compilation.
yeah. But like, I mean, like, I don't know, but like, we've known like Suicide Machines. Like Derek Grant was like, we played in Derek Grant's um basement when he was like, in high school. Like we played in his parents' basement's house, like years ago. Like totally, like, I mean, like, very cool shit. But like, I don't know. And then we like, yeah, it's just it's a very, it was just a very like, oh my god, it was just like, I just remember being in Dayton, Ohio at this like really cool show, and we're playing with all these cool indie bands, and like fucking Guided by Voices were there, and like we're like, yes, we're gonna go there, and like, no, we're not. We're there, and like we have this new product to show, and like, no, we don't, because we're like, we're not gonna show this product to anybody because it sucks. Like, it's not what we. It's like, imagine like just imagine like you're getting something like paid for, and you open it up and it's like not that what you paid for. You know, it
Yeah,
was horrible.
it's like that whole John Mellencamp, John Cougar thing all over again.
Totally. I mean, yeah, it was horrible, horrible, horrible shit. And like, yeah, and then we're like, just, you have to take these off the market. Like, you made so many, and I, like I said, I still have a boxes of these things, and they're there, but I'm not ever gonna release them to the public. And I should have like burned them, but like, yeah, no. But it was horrible,
Yep.
horrible shit.
I actually specially ordered that one from the CD store here in Rolla.
Well, no, cute, you keep it, because you're a collector. But like, yeah, but like as a as the band, like, oh, we were just like, fuck.
Full Throttle. Let's jump onto
Yes.
that boat. I fucking love Full Throttle. Like I said,
Oh,
the-
Full Throttle is a fucking, oh my god.
it's a fucking
Oh.
masterpiece. The amount, like, it blew my mind. Like, cause I, like I said, the other two were like staples of my childhood, and it took me I didn't come across that until 2002, maybe. I was late to the game because I lived in
Okay.
St. James, Missouri at the time, which is even smaller than Rolla.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a college in Rolla?
Yes, it used to be UMR,
It's
but
like,
now it's S&T, Missouri S&T, the Science and
oh, okay.
Technology.
Okay.
It's
Because I feel like
it's the second biggest engineering school in the country.
oh, okay, awesome. But yeah, Full Throttle was Full Throttle was the product of like, I don't know, um a lot of angst, a lot of like, I don't know, it was weird. It was okay, so we toured Kiss Your Ass Goodbye pretty extensively, and like kind of changed personnel um after we recorded that record, and then we changed a lot of people, you know, and so we were playing like a lot of the Kiss Your Ass Goodbye songs, and like we just toured like motherfuckers. Like we were touring, 200 days a year. And so after we released that, we started touring, and we toured that like incessantly. And then the new people that sort of joined after Kiss Your Ass Goodbye was released, and like we sort of re-established a new rhythm section and blah blah blah. We toured that like for probably a year or so, and like we toured like hard, like, and we just like, yeah, and it like, touring is very hard, and it was very hard in the early 90s, and like, yeah, so we just went out in a van and just like bam, we were touring everywhere and playing anywhere and anytime, whatever we could play. And then we did that for like a year, and then we sort of came back and we're like, we need to like start, working on new music. And like at that point, we were like, all right, well, yeah. Um, so we like, I think everybody that was writing the songs, like I was a writer. Mike, our guitar player, was a writer, and you know, yeah, we were just like, what the fuck, and just like, um, yeah. So we did like a lot of like gnarly ass touring, and I think the when we started to like got home and like we're like, all right, we need to write some music. It was heavily influenced by the fact that we were just like doing this gnarly touring and like staying in like shitty places and like driving um 8 hours a day to play for like four people for $25 and like um but we were doing it because that's what we wanted to do. And then we were like, all right, well, yeah, but now we have to write a new album. And like that was like sort of influenced things. So Full Throttle was like very influenced by like we were just angry and like pissed and like um yeah, just like yeah, that album was it's total anger and like aggro and like fuck and like yeah, like we've been like yeah, and like yeah, it was like yeah, very influenced by our environment. Let's just say that. So we were just like out and we'd be like, okay, well, yeah, we're gonna go out for 3 months and like yeah, we'll be in New York City and like we'll be in you know Jacksonville and like but like we're playing to 10 people in those places and but we're doing it like for months at a time. And it's like then we'd get home and we're like, well, we got to write some music. And like when we started writing, it was like it was like fucking aggro as shit because we were just that's how we were. We were in our mid 20s and fucking all of us were pretty good musicians and like yeah, and it was just like we wanted to write the craziest heaviest shit that we could do that was sort of you know um in our whatever. We didn't care about ska or shit like that. We were just like we're going to be as fast and aggro and crazy as we can and everything's going to be in 24/6 time.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And it's still that album's still blowing minds today. Every time I put it on for someone
Yeah.
who hasn't heard it, they're just like, "What the fuck's happening?" Like that
Yeah.
horn part at the beginning of Smash the Magnavox. It's like,
Yeah.
what's going on there?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic because I don't know any horn players that could ever play that again. Aside from John Paul Camp and Jimmy Flame. Those two are the only two that could ever do it. And it's like, oh my God. When we're like, oh, that's the kind of shit we're gonna do, we're like, yes. But yeah, it's like that's where we were because we were just like, fuck, we want to make the most fucking aggressive, crazy ass shit we can do because that's how we felt. We were like, oh my God, we've been like sleeping in fucking sleeping with our heads in cat boxes all 5 days a week. And like, yes, that's what we came back with. We're like, yes, that's our music. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
fuck yeah, fuck those other people.
yeah.
And like, but at the same time, we're like, yeah, we want to be a part of a scene. And the ska scene embraced us. And we're like, yeah, that's great. We love you guys, but we're here and you know, but yeah, we'll come out and play your shows, and we'll freak out all the fucking kids, and we'll do our thing. And that's that's where that's been the thing. That's been the Blue Meanies MO since day one. You know, I'm like we love you, but we're gonna we're gonna fuck with you.
Witness guidance, formulating arrangement. I want to lock the lock and lose your keys. Your ignorance betrays our little arrangement.
You have a bunch of random tracks that you threw together for the pig
Oh,
compilation.
pigs?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, pigs?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the pigs one was like, okay, so we did all right, so there was the we did a Vindictives cover, um, Dummy Room, because we love the Vindictives. Like the Vindictives are oh my god, love the Vindictives. Like Chicago, like they're, like I don't know, Screeching Weasel, Vindictives are like, whatever, Boll Weevils, all those cool bands, Apocalypse Hoboken, I don't know. I always like the Vindictives more so than any. They're my favorites. Well, no, actually, Apocalypse Hoboken is my favorites, but like Vindictives, yeah, they're awesome. Joy Vindictive, like cool as shit. That was a cover. Um, we did. There's Sucker is on there. Sucker is the theme song to a movie. Uh, so trauma movies. You probably know about Trauma.
I know all about Trauma.
Yeah.
Romeo and
So
Juliet is the best romantic comedy ever.
yeah. So yeah, Trauma. The Sucker is the theme song for the
Sucker the Vampire.
Sucker the Vampire. Exactly, the AIDS vampire, which is awesome. Which I don't know. It's yeah. I wish more people saw that. But yeah, I mean, it was like, I remember, like, yeah, like we love the Trauma people. There was another Trauma movie we didn't get to do, but they sent us this awesome like clip, like write some music for this clip. And it was like, the movie, I can't remember what the movie was, but like the clip that they sent was like, um, a kid like was like, oh, yeah. He got basically the kid got a glass bong shoved up his ass, and they asked us to write some music about it or to that. But yeah, yeah, a trouble movie. Like there was yeah, the kid got a glass bong shoved up his ass, and it was fantastic. And we were like, yes, we'll do it. But like, yeah, but we did Sucker for the movie called Sucker about the AIDS vampire or whatever, and it was fantastic. And I don't know, the movie's great. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got it in my.
Yeah, it's not that great.
They're all great. They're all great. One of my favorite ones was this one called Monster in the Closet, where
Oh God,
literally 30 minutes of the movie, it'd be people sitting around watching TV and be like, what's that sound coming from the closet? And they'd walk over there and get pulled in the closet, and a bunch of clothes would pop out. Literally
Oh
half
my
the
God.
movie was just that.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. But yeah, the pigs. Pigs is a Vindictives cover. It's Sucker. I think what else is on there?
Ivy cover.
Oh yeah, the Up Ivy
Rich.
cover. Yeah, that was awesome. That was it appeared on. There was a comp.
Yelling in my ear.
Yelling in my ear, and it was like it was so cool. Like yeah, I like it was yeah, I remember like that came out yeah, Yelling in my ear, that comp. But I remember like it was super cool. Like Jesse Michaels, he's from Op Ivy, but he's also in I don't know, he's very smart and like I don't know how to describe it, but he like um I think he's been studying at various universities over the years, and like I don't know, I just remember like on the Ska Against Racism tour, which was 1998. I remember like he was living in Florida at the time, and like, oh my god, I like we were there, and like I was at the whatever like eating dinner, and like this guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jesse," and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Oh, you're Jesse fucking Michaels," and he's like, "Yeah, man, I really like your fucking version of Yelling in My Ear. That was really cool." Because it had just come out, and like, yeah, it was fucking super cool to like sit down and like have dinner with Jesse Michaels, basically. And I was like, oh, dude, well, I mean, you're Jesse from Op Ivy. And like, yeah, I remember you from whatever. Yeah. So it was really cool. But
Yeah.
yeah. And like, oh my God, fucking shit that him and Tim are doing now is really cool. But yeah, but no, but that's on the Pigs EP, and it got Jesse Michaels approved, and I was like, yes. So
Made that
but
whole
yeah,
thing worth it right there.
yes. But yeah, I'm trying to think what else was on there. What else was on there?
There was the Grinch,
Oh, the Grinch. The
and then
Grinch was, oh my God, the Grinch was we recorded that in 1993 um at Chuck U. Cheetah, this guy from Chicago who was in No Empathy, this band called No Empathy.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
like
Ben Weasel
fucking,
don't like us.
yes, Ben Weasel don't like it. Yes. But Chuck owned a place called Attica Studios. He also owned the coolest fucking bar ever called Clubfoot, which, there's yeah, Chuck is, fucking awesome Chicago punk rock royalty. And like, yeah, he was like, yeah, we did that for but like on that there was that was part of a comp called the Very Punk Christmas, but it was like the Boll Weevils were on there, Kappa Jazz was on there, Psychic Kato was on there, and it's like, oh my god, it was like a double 7-inch compilation that came out in like 1992 ish, maybe 2, 3, but like super rare, super cool comp. But like, yeah, like I don't know. But then, yeah, what else was on there? Refresh my memory because I
Let's
don't
see.
remember.
I Fitz.
I Fitznick, yes. Oh yeah, our one and only straight up ska song that was written by our trumpet player Jimmy Flame. Like he's like, yeah, let's do it. So it was like a fuck you to the when we went on the Ska Against Racism tour. We were like, well, we're the only, you know, non-ska band on that tour. So that's when we started wearing suits, and we're like, oh, well, fucking fuck with these people, and we're gonna wear suits, and we're gonna play our fucking crazy ass shit. But we also recorded that song, which is our only straight up ska song, other than It Doesn't Matter. Um, and then we went on that tour, and we were like, we would go up in our suits, and then like go play fucking crazy ass shit. And then Less Than Jake would come on, and people would be like, well, what the fuck was that? You know?
That'd
So
be hard for Less Than Jake to follow there.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. It was, whatever. It was, and the Toasters were there, and like MU330 was there. It was fun. We all had fun on that tour, but like we were the outliers, obviously, but we decided to wear suits, and like, and that was our opening song. Like, oh yeah, and it was like, oh, it was like this really cool, like, you know, two-tone. No, it wasn't even. It was like a straight up ska song. It
Yeah.
was like Jamaican ska, and like not like a special ska. It was like, yeah. But then we would do that, and then we'd go like, bam, acceleration 5,000.
Which made its way onto a lot of comps.
Yes, it did. It did. But and that's it was a good song. I think it's a good song. But like,
It's a great
yeah,
song.
But yeah, that was our thing. It was just like, yeah, we're not gonna, yeah, well, like, okay, and then bam, and we would do, and then pave the world. Obviously, like that's when we were doing those big package tours, everybody would come out and play the horns, and we'd let them do solos, and it was like, oh, it's spectacular. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, how the hell did you end up on a major label?
Um, that's a good question.
Did they not hear Full Throttle?
Yeah. Again, it was like we there was like a lot of so you're familiar with like South by Southwest. Like South by Southwest back in the day was like, it was like a, you know, um it's where people would go and like see things and like, oh, you'd see this band, like, oh yeah. But it was like so we ended up through South by Southwest, we played a show with Buck09, MU330, and I don't know, somebody else, but like this guy named Glenn Ballard, who was a very famous producer. Like fucking he did like Aerosmith and shit like that. But he also did Alanis Morissette, and he was very like, whatever he said went in the music industry in the mid 90s. So he happened to be at our show with, again, with Buck09, MU330, and I think, oh, I don't know, there's one other band, but like, I don't know, he was there. And whatever, it was at it was a big show. There's probably, there was a couple thousand people there. It was like a big one. Um so we did the show and like went back on tour, and our manager got a call, excuse me, like a few weeks later. It was like, oh, I saw your band at South by Southwest, and I'm doing a movie. And we're like, oh, movie, okay. He's like, I'd like them to be in a movie. And we're like, okay. So he was doing the music. He was whatever. The movie was called Clubland. Worst movie you'll ever see in your entire life. Um, so um anyway, he's like, yeah, like I want the Blue Meanies to be in this movie. And we're like, okay, cool. So, you know, like, all right, great. So the star of the movie was Lori Petty, fucking Tank Girl, which was the mid 90s. Terrence Trent D'Arby. Do you remember him from the 80s? He's like a, singer, songwriter guy, whatever. Anyway, so Glenn Ballard saw us at South by Southwest, ships us out. We were on tour. We were in New York one night, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna go to, you guys are gonna go from this club where I think we played with Mephistopheles, and we're gonna go. There's gonna be limos picking you up, taking you to the airport. They're gonna fly you to LA, and then you're gonna go be in this movie. And we're like, okay, what the fuck? Why not? So that happens. Like we literally played at this place called the Wetlands in New York, got on a plane, got on limos, got on a plane, did a red eye, went to LA, stayed with some friends in LA, and then went to this place, and it was a club called what the hell was it called? Billboard Live in LA. It was actual club, and we got there, and they're like, yeah, well, there's like fucking cameras and like all this shit, and they're like, they had like um, instruments set up for us on stage, and they're like, "Well, yeah, you're gonna do your thing, and whatever." And like, so we're like, "Okay, cool." So we're hanging out all day and all day and all day, and like Lori Petty is there, and like some other dude, like that's some sort of famous actor, whatever, and they're doing their scenes, and they're like, "All right, well, yeah, we're done for the day." And we're like, "Oh, fuck." So whatever. So we came back the next day and did the same thing, and like, yeah. So then they're like, "Okay, you guys are on stage." Like, great. So we went up and like mime our music, and like, okay, and like people are like spraying us with like fake sweat, and like, okay, this is fucking crazy, whatever. And we're just like sitting in the back, like drinking beers all day. And like, all right, yeah. So we were there for like 3 days for like 20 seconds of footage for this fucking movie. And we're like, whatever, they're paying us. So whatever. So I don't know. Long story short, we did that. Then we went back and like we had sold a pretty good amount of records of Full Throttle at that point, and people were kind of looking at us. And then they saw that we were this Glenn Ballard dude had put us in this movie, and like people in LA started talking, and like, yeah. So they, whatever. And then yeah, so then like people were like calling our managers and whatever, and like yeah, it was stupid. But the whole major label thing was just like, oh my god, it was so ridiculous. Like, you know, it was great that we finally got to make a record that we really wanted to make, that was really good and well made, with a really good producer. But like, I don't know, it was like really crazy because we also like we had lunch with Roy Thomas Baker, the guy that produced Queen and the Cars and shit. And they're like, "Oh yeah, Roy Thomas Baker might want to produce you." And we're like, "Oh yeah, we went out for Indian food with Roy Thomas Baker." And we're like, "Oh, this is fucking cool." And we were all like hungover and shit, and like, oh, we're just partying in LA, and like, oh yeah, we're taking like, we don't even care. We're like, oh yeah, but whatever. But yeah, it was just like, yeah, it's just like, it was very not, yeah, we were very punk rock, but then we like got to the point where people were like trying to make money off us. And like, yeah, we're like, okay, well, cool. We'll just follow and do our thing. And yeah, that's how we ended up on a major label.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
kind of crazy. So what was it
yeah.
like acting like you were actually playing music instead of playing the music?
Oh, we were in the movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Like I was just like, and somebody would come by with a spray bottle and spray sweat on me, and I'd be like, you know,
It's great
it was
stuff.
awesome. Yeah. It was so ridiculous,
So that's
but
your acting credit. That's awesome.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. That was it. But it was fun, like why not? I'm just going to like let this we're just like, "Oh yeah, we're just going to let this roll and do our thing and whatever."
But
But
yeah, the Post Wave was a great album, and it was a lot more clean and polished than all the other albums.
yeah, it was. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It was yeah, the I don't know. I don't know. I'm proud of all of our albums and all of our shit, but like, um yeah, the Postway was definitely much more polished, but it was like, I think it was more of a progression as we were going, like more so personally as songwriters, and just sort of developing. Um, you know, we started out just like, oh, I got a riff, and like, oh, I got a riff, then we'll jam them together, and it sort of progressed like, well, I've got a riff, and well, I've got another riff, and then like, oh, I've got three riffs, and then here we're gonna put them all together. But then, so basically, the post wave was just we were just becoming more mature as songwriters. Like, I don't know, I figured out personally, I figured out a way like, oh, I've got two or three riffs, and I can put them together in a way that makes a song, rather than like, oh, I've got this riff and you've got this riff, and also, um yeah, it was just we were becoming better musicians, and we had more, it's like, okay, I have a um an ADAT machine where I can record, and I'm like a half-assed pretty good drummer, so I could put a drum track down, and I know how to play guitar, and yeah, I can like bring a fleshed out song to the band. Um, so yeah, it just became different. We just grew up, you know, and like, yeah, and like, I don't know, it was just like also Full Throttle was our fucking aggro, like angry, like album. Like we were all just like we were touring like 200 days a year, and like staying in like shit places, and just like, and then we'd come back and like and we were just, but like when we got to the post wave, we were like a little bit like we were a little bit more, um I don't know, we were kind of making more money, and like but we weren't like, you know we could like pay rent, as opposed to like, oh my god, like we would rather go on tour and sleep in a van because we can't pay rent. But then we were like, oh, we can go get apartments and like pay rent. So it was like, it was comfort, and like, yeah, it was just being more mature, like maturing, and like, I don't know, it was, yeah, it was crazy, but it was, but then like, but yeah, but I mean, we, yeah,
It's
different.
It's funny you say that because when I talked to Lindsay from Frenzel Rom, he said
Yeah,
when he was on a major label, all that really did was pay his rent for like 4 or 5 years.
yeah, yeah, and like, but like, I don't know, when Lindsay would come to my house, like they would, yeah, it was like they were like living poor, but they were on a major label in Australia or whatever. But like, yeah, but like we were kindred spirits, I should say. But yeah, totally. But yeah, it was just like, yeah, like you could live a little more comfortably and know, like, yeah, well, you might be able to eat um a little bit better than ramen noodles
I
on
feel
any given day,
I feel you, even though I still eat them.
Oh, I do too. I love them, but
Uh,
uh,
so yeah, I was kind of saddened that that's the last release. I mean, there was that post wave outtakes that you were able to get off of MySpace back in the day that you can now get from the Bandcamp. Uh,
oh, okay.
those are pretty good. Um, but recently, you just released the Vault, right?
Oh, the vault. Yeah, the
Yeah,
vault's
what's up
got a
with
little
these
bit more.
recordings? They seem to vary from quality, but they're all phenomenal. And why have they been vaulted from me so long?
That no, it just, I don't know. It was just because they haven't been vaulted. Like, I don't know. They're I think just technology, and like, I don't know, the no, it's, yeah, they haven't, they've been there, and like, I don't know, I have a DAT machine, I have a cassette recorder, and it's just like I have a bunch of tapes, and like sometimes I'll put one in and the fucking thing will snap. I'm like, oh shit, there goes that one. And then I'm like, oh, I'll try and tape it back together. But like, no, it's just like we don't have. Yeah, it was like it's unfortunate. Like the post wave era band, we had the ability to record, and we had like and shit like that. But like the old days, we did not. We were just like we'd come in like, okay, we're gonna go practice, and like, okay, here it is, and we just play it to one another. But we didn't have like, I mean, we didn't even have like fucking 4 tracks or anything.
But
So it was just like, yeah, as we got older, we just got more shit, and like I don't know. I mean,
there was some
that's all.
great material,
I
but
wish I wish we had like demos of some of that older shit. I really do.
yeah,
We just didn't have the tech.
but like some of them songs that you just released in April, like "Below the
Yeah.
Radar," "Perverted
Yeah.
and Sick," uh,
Yes.
freaking "Moving Through the City," "Cluster Fucks," and "Semi Trucks."
Yes.
Those are phenomenal tracks, and I
That's
like
good
just
shit,
now
right?
hearing them. It's
I'm
blowing.
I'm working on a good remix of Below the Radar because that shit that's a good one.
Yeah, there's some great ones on there, right?
Yeah.
So are you gonna like compile all these and then like get a good pressing of them maybe? Because like you also have some random
Maybe.
tracks that are hard to get, like "Corpse" from
Yeah.
the Alkaline Trio split. That's a
Oh, you don't have that one?
no, that's a standalone track that like is only on that Alkaline Trio split, and it's
Yeah.
like I mean I
Oh,
heard it on the YouTube, but like
yeah.
it
But yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah. I mean, there's some of I have I have a really good version of Below the Radar because that shit is a banger. That I've been working on like getting it mastered and nice. Um, yeah, but that one is a great song. I love that song. That was written by Sean, our guitar player, or Sean Dolan. But yeah, that's one I really like. But that came out of that like just like oh yeah, all that milieu of like kind of redoing or re-listening to all those things. But that one was like, oh my god, that song is a fucking banger.
so
I'm
where did
sorry.
all these come from? Have you just been sitting on them that long, or
There, some of them, yes. I mean, they were the most of them are from the post wave sessions because that's when we were just like, that's when we were just writing and like,
you could really
that's all we were doing was, we didn't have jobs and shit. We were just writing songs, and obviously the ones that made it to the post wave album were the winners. But it was a crazy process because we were working with outside songwriters for the first time, and like we were working with this like dude, Mark Goldenberg, for example. He co-wrote a song with us, but his thing, he's Jackson Brown, is that guy. He's like the guitar player in his band, but he also used to write songs with like the Pointer Sisters and shit like that. And they're like, whatever. Jane Weedland from the Go Go's, like they're like, oh yeah, go. Like me and Sean, our guitar player, we worked with Wayne Kramer from MC5, like one of my fucking idols. And we wrote one of the worst fucking songs you'll ever hear in your life. We were like, all right, we're gonna sit in the studio with Wayne and like, yes, we're gonna do some shit. And we came up with like nothing. It was like nothing. And it was terrible. But like we sat with Wayne Kramer and like, yes, we got to hang out. And like, yeah, whatever. But that's like how the industry kind of goes. And it was like, whatever. But like, yes, we were like fucking Wayne. And like I remember we ate like we ordered lunch and we ate cold sesame noodles because Wayne was like, yes, let's get cold sesame noodles from this place down the street. And me and Sean and Wayne wrote the worst fucking song ever. It was called She Was Not That Bad. And I will never post that, whatever. It exists, but it's never going to happen.
oh
But Yeah.
In 80 years, somebody's going to be digging through some tapes and come across that. It's
No.
going to be everywhere.
No. There's one person that has it, and it's safe. It will never exist. But yeah, but like, but yeah, but like, yeah, it was like crazy. Like the record label was like, oh, go work with these people. And like, yeah, it was fun. Like Billy and Dave got to work with Jane Weedland. And there was a really cool song that came out of that. But yeah, it's like, yeah, but some of it, not so much, you know.
You just recently played a show, right? Which
Yeah.
from my understanding, it turned out awesome. I saw some footage from it. It looked really fun. I mean,
Oh yeah.
even Rob flew out from LA
Yes,
to
he
come
did.
out. So, what's the future of the Blue Meanies looking like right now? Are you going to release some new material? I mean, you got that. You're sitting on a really good recording of
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but no. It's we have some offers, and it's weird, we get offers all the time. But it's, we're all spread out all over the country. There's like yeah, the last shows we did was the Kiss Your Ass Goodbye lineup, and that's totally different than the Full Throttle lineup, and totally different than the Post Wave lineup. So, but yeah, I don't know, I can't really say. I mean, but like I said, we get offers all the time, and it's just mm, you know and the fact that we were able to play in July was just crazy planets aligning in a certain way, and never thought we'd get those dudes, like all of us together again. I mean, we're all still friends, we all still communicate, we have group texts, and um we're all still friends, but like, yeah, the fact that we were able to just get that particular lineup together was, oh, I don't know, it was just crazy. It just happened. So yeah, you never know. That's all I can say.
How fucking amazing was that shit? Fucking that Kiss Your Ass Goodbye story was fucking great, and mind blown, mind blown. It was just such a great interview. I really appreciate Chaz taking the time to answer all those questions and go into such great detail. Right. Like I said before, make sure to like and subscribe and all that other jive. Click the bell, comments, and I'll see you next month.